One, that super long bill on the front of his face there. Now, certainly looks very heavy. You might be wondering, oh my gosh, how does he carry it around with him all day? Well, I assure you it's deceivingly light. In fact, that bill weighs less than all of the feathers on Howard's body combined. Now, it's very long for a specific reason. You see, Howard here is a frugivore. It means that he loves to eat lots and lots of fruit in the rainforest of South America where he lives. And that extra length on that bill allows him to reach up, down, all around along flimsy branches that maybe otherwise wouldn't support his entire body weight. Gives him an extra reach, allows him to be more opportunistic when he's looking for food. But he's done a great job opening up our presentation. What do you say, Howard? Let's give it up for those beautiful flights there. Well, only natural place to go from the smallest bird is, of course, on to the largest bird. Now, this here is Spud. Spud's probably a little bit less exotic than you're expecting, just a turkey. But she does bring with her a lovely message of conservation. So, show of hands, who has seen a wild turkey before? Yeah, look at all those hands go up. Well, that is all thanks to a conservation project from the 1980s. Because before that, turkeys were actually extirpated in Canada. It means that they were no longer found in the wild. They could only be found under domestication on farms and such. But researchers and conservationists realized if they released turkeys back into their wild habitat, they would help keep the ecosystem nice and balanced. And so they did just that. They released 4,400 turkeys across different sites within Ontario. Turns out they were very successful. All of these years later, Spud has 100,000 wild counterparts in our beautiful province alone. Just goes to show how important conservation projects are. Why don't we all say bye, Spud?
On the note of conservation, there is a project very near and dear to our hearts here at Parrot Paradise, and that is our blue-throated macaw recovery program. We'd love to introduce you to one of our ambassadors, or two of them, so making their way in are Benny and Levi, and they are our blue-throats that hatched here back in 2018. Now, the blue-throated macaw is a critically endangered species endemic to Bolivia, with currently less than 500 individuals remaining in the wild. So what we've done here at Safari to try to help these beautiful birds is formed a partnership with the World Parrot Trust and established a breeding program here on site. Now, as I said, in 2018, Benny and Levi were the very first blue-throats to hatch here, but since then we have hatched 8 more of these beautiful birds. Then in 2023, we were able to take things a step further, sending 8 birds to Bolivia, where they are to become the founding members of a breeding program being implemented there in their native range. So ultimately, the goal is once those birds are reproduced, their offspring can be released into the wild in order to help elevate the blue-throated macaw population to a higher, more sustainable level. So we would like to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for joining us here today, because it's through your support that we're able to do conservation work like this in the first place. We appreciate it, and so do our blue-throats, so please give yourself a big round of applause. All right, so now we're going to have a bit of fun with these birds. Benny and Levi are going to help us point out a couple of key characteristics of the parrot family. So the very first thing you'll notice is, of course, their bright, beautiful colors. Now, their colors may seem bold to us, but they actually help them blend in quite well in their natural environments, as these colors help them blend in with the yellow fruits and the bluish shadows of the rainforest. Now, have a look at their feet. So parrots have what we call zygodactyl toes. Now, that word simply means they've got 2 toes facing forwards and 2 toes facing backwards. This is what gives parrots an extremely powerful grasp and allows them to use their feet much like we use our hands, now especially while eating. So take a look at how they hold that treat in their foot and then draw it close to their beak so that they can take smaller bites out of it. Now, it's very similar to how humans are right and left-handed. Parrots do have a preference for which foot they use, but unlike us, most parrots do tend to be left-footed. Now, up next is that impressively strong beak of theirs. Parrots' beaks are so strong that they can support their entire body weight on that beak alone and exert pressures 5 times that of our own bite. Now, they also use that beak much like a third foot, which does make them quite acrobatic by nature, and that just helps them navigate those canopies that they call home. Now, to see one of these birds in flight is quite the beautiful sight. Their beautiful wings can bring them to 50 to 60 kilometers per hour, which is about as fast as we drive through those cities and towns that we live in. But how do they maneuver that flight? Well, their means of steering is through that great big tail of theirs. By shifting it from side to side allows them to change direction. But most importantly, when they fan it out, that helps them slow down so that they can have a nice, safe landing. Well, Benny and Levi have done an excellent job for us here, so let's hear it for them. Now, the next bird I'd like to introduce you to may not be the most colorful bird we have out here, but he does make up for it in his own way, as his species is one of the smartest parrot species in the world, and I'm sure he'd agree with us when we do say that. He does. So this here is Reggie, and Reggie is our tin-meat parrot. Now, he may also be one of the smaller birds we have out here, but do not underestimate him, as his intelligence can be compared to that of a 5-year-old child. Tin-meat parrots are keen learners throughout their lives, and they've been known to learn up to 1,500 words. Now, Reggie here, he knows nowhere near 1,500 words, as his favorite word to say is a simple hello. A sweet hello from Reggie here. Now, their ability to speak does make them a desired pet for many people. However, the methods used in capturing them for the global pet trade has unfortunately led to a significant decrease in their wild populations. The practices used are often harsh, inhumane, and dangerous, which unfortunately means that up to half of the birds that are trapped do not even survive the journey. Now, the good news is there are government bodies working with organizations to help tackle the illegal capture and trade of these birds. And not only do we find that pretty exciting, but so does Reggie. Woo! A lot of excitement from this little gray bird. Let's see if he has anything else to add for us today.
Bye.
Sweet goodbye from Reggie. Well, he's done a wonderful job, so let's put our hands together for him.
Well, found all the way on the other side of the world in Australia, Indonesia, as well as the surrounding islands, you can find members of the parrot family known as cockatoos. And that is who Petey is out here to represent today. She's what we call an umbrella cockatoo. Now, being a parrot, she too would like to say hello in her own unique voice, but listen closely, does sound very, very different from Reggie's. Very, very sweet, sugary, high-pitched voice, pretty typical in the cockatoo world, but you know what? Petey has a darker side to her. You see, she is one of the loudest animals in the world, being able to scream at 135 decibels. Let's put that number into perspective. That is still 15 decibels louder than your average rock concert. Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Knowing this may come as no surprise, they are often considered a pest species by many, where they're found flying around in large flocks. Now, Petey here does differ from the macaws in a couple other ways as well. You see, she's got a set of crest feathers on the top of her head that she's able to lower and raise at will. Now, usually, these feathers do come up when they feel really big emotions like excitement, anger, happiness, something like that. Petey's usually comes up when she wants attention. So I think we should get a great big round of applause. What do you say, Petey? What do you think? Oh, and a little bit of a dance as well. Now, usually this crest is meant to make them look larger, more intimidating to predators. Not quite the case here at Safari, of course. Just makes her all the more endearing. She's done a great job, so let's keep it going for Petey today. All right, now we have some non-parrot friends coming on out next. Very common across the globe, just depends on where you're from if you've ever seen them before. They're great big grand entrance in all the way from the back. Let's see them up nice and close. Our pair of helmeted guinea fowl. This here is Trixie and Pixie. Now you're probably thinking, just like everyone else, it's a really weird looking chicken. But you know what? You're pretty close to the truth. They're from the same group of birds as chickens and turkeys. So as humans, we'll use them for the same reasons. Their eggs, their meat, and such. However, they're good for more than just that. Trixie and Pixie here have a particular appetite for ticks. So a lot of farmers house them with their other livestock, and they help make sure they're free of any tick-borne diseases. All right, a little bit of comedic relief never hurt a presentation, that is for sure. And they've made way for the next individual to come on out. Now, his name is Parker. He's an icon of beauty across the globe. And boy, is he aware of that fact. You see, he kind of demands a great big grand entrance, and we like to really appease him that way. So why don't we clap our hands, stomp our feet, great big drum roll. Let's get it going for the national bird of India. What do you say, buddy? Come up nice and close. All right, he's feeling shy today, but he's just as beautiful as ever. Now, what kind of bird is Parker? You guys tell me.
Peacock.
Of course, you're correct. Now, he is actually an Indian peafowl. He's a peacock because he's a male. Females are peahens, young are pea chicks. Now, how are we so sure that he's a male? Well, he's got that beautiful bright blue coloration to his head, neck, and chest. And of course, as he comes up nice and close, you'll see those elaborate train feathers. Now, many people do mistake that to be a peacock's tail. In fact, they're modified back feathers, and he's got really strong, short, stiff tail feathers that are able to prop them open. Now, if he chose to display his train, it would be about 5 feet wide and over 3 feet tall. Certainly looks very beautiful to you and I, but he doesn't so much care about that. He's got one main goal with that train. He wants to attract the lady peahens, of course. That's why he looks like this during the breeding season. But you see, the peacocks have evolved a specific trait with this train. They don't want to keep it around all year long because it does weigh them down in flight. That makes them a lot more vulnerable to predators. So, end of July, beginning of August, every single one of those feathers will start falling out one by one. But don't worry about him. They regrow in January for the following breeding season, just as beautiful as the year before. Now, I think you've done enough showing off. Let's hear for Parker as he heads on home.
All right, now flipping the switch back on over to parrots, another factor that limits parrot survival in the wild is the loss of their nesting sites. So parrots actually rely on hollowed out tree cavities to build their nests, and that means factors such as logging, agriculture, and uncontrolled forest fires can make breeding in the wild pretty challenging for them. Now, one thing being done to support breeding in the wild when those tree cavities aren't readily available is to provide man-made nesting sites. And a really great example of what one of those might look like is right over there where Pepper, our scarlet macaw, is hanging out by. Now, one of our partners in conservation, the World Parrot Trust, has placed over 100 nesting boxes in the wild for a variety of different parrot species to ensure that parrots have a safe place to rest and raise their young. African Lion Safari has also had success in providing nesting boxes for our parrots, which does bring me to the next bird we'd like to introduce you to. So making his way in will be Arthur, and Arthur is our 11-year-old green-winged macaw. Now, Arthur actually hatched out right here at Safari 11 years ago, and so did his mother way back in the early 90s. Now, to you and I, flying may seem like a whole lot of fun, but for birds, it is actually a means of survival. Whether they're out foraging for food, seeking shelter, looking for a mate, or even migrating between those summer and winter homes. But I think we can all agree that Arthur here is quite the handsome boy, so we thought what better way to include him in our presentation than to have him fly over the lucky heads of our audience members. But in order for him to take off, he is going to need some help from us all. So on my count, we're going to count down from 3 and then shout take off as loud as we can. Is everyone ready? Yeah. All right, 3, 2, 1, take off! So watch as he uses his tail to steer his flight and then fans it out for the brakes. Well, it's another safe landing, so let's give it up for Arthur. Now we've shown you a lot of amazing characteristics of parrots throughout our presentation today. What's the one thing that parrots do that everyone wants to hear?
Singing.
So I definitely heard it. Of course, it is talking. So very similar to how humans are able to learn multiple languages, parrots can adopt a human language on top of the natural calls that they already know. So joining us here today to showcase their speaking capabilities of the human language, we have our yellow-fronted Amazon Wasabi and our yellow-crowned Amazon Eddie.
All right, well, let's start off simple with a hello. Hello. Oh, man, sure sounds excited to see all of your beautiful faces in the crowd. Now, we do introduce Wasabi, but he's let us know in the past he actually prefers to do the introduction. So let's just ask him, what's your name? Certainly is. Now, these guys are pretty close friends, and as tends to happen, they're kind of opposite personalities. They balance each other well. You see, Wasabi here is very, very polite, so he does have a question for you. How are you? All right. We're hoping you're having a lovely visit today. And Eddie here, on the other hand, pretty nosy bird. This is her favorite question. Lots of what you do. And you know what, though? She makes a pretty good work supervisor. Keeps us all on task during the day. It's very helpful. Now, these guys here are female and male. But don't feel bad if you can't tell, because the truth of the matter is, none of us really can. For the large majority of parrot species, males and females will look exactly the same to us humans. So, to determine for sure, we had to take a drop of their blood, send it off to a lab, get it DNA tested. Now, that is how we confirmed it, but we probably should have known. You see, Wasabi here is a little bit of a flirt with all the females.
Yeah.
Oh, man, not very light at all, Wasabi. Come on now. But you know what? He's well-intentioned, and Eddie doesn't really seem to mind. Usually she just blows a couple kisses back. Lots of kisses from these lovebirds today. Now, because they're a very social species of bird, they're very playful by nature. This is how they like to reinforce relationships with one another. That extends to all the other parrots at safari, but us keepers as well might recognize their favorite game to play with us. That's right, they love to play the tickle game. And what do us humans do when we get tickled? Of course, we laugh, and so do our birds. Yeah, he's about the most sarcastic individual on safari, that is for sure. Now, these guys here, to finish things off, glad to say, they've got a couple of musical numbers to perform to show off how excellent parrots are at singing. I do want to preface by saying they've had some really awful singing teachers. Yeah, you guessed it, me and the rest of my coworkers. Not a single Britney Spears among us. So please take it easy on these two. Probably going to be out of tune, but I think to help us out, maybe a couple vocal runs will do the trick. So Soft, can you warm up your voice? Okay, nice and in tune. Now we have one particular song that's perfectly on theme for the day.
Yeah.
That's right, great big mumbly version of our national anthem.
Yeah.
Let's give it up for Eddie there. Very patriotic bird today. All right, now before the next one, do have a question for all of you in the audience. Show of hands, is it anyone's birthday by chance? Any birthdays way here in the yellow shirt? Happy birthday to you. And up here as well. Oh my goodness. Okay, we got 2 hands, 2 birthdays. 3rd birthday. But the rest of you look kind of lonely. How about any other July birthdays? Hands up. July birthdays. Okay, nice. Okay. Pretty good. What do you guys think? I don't know. They still don't look convinced. That's okay. Anyone's birthday in the next year or so? Any birthdays in the next year? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Always does the trick somehow. Well, whatever your special day is, especially if it's today, this song's for all of you. A little bit from Wasabi. All right, give it up for the 2 of these guys. They've done a great job. Now, with all that natural talent they have, does come a whole lot of hard work to back it up. And because they put in all that time and effort, they're very proud of where they work. Now, it's probably Wasabi's favorite thing to say to you all, so why am I still talking? Let's hand it over to him. Wasabi, tell the people, where do you work? He works right here in Avian Lines. Right, give it up for the superstars. Now, we here at Safari like to say the first steps in conservation are education. So hoping you not only have lots and lots of fun, maybe you learned a thing or two and have gained an appreciation for, well, even the